The day the groom got arrested at his own wedding is the day everyone finally admitted that the said, chill funny best man had been running a long con the entire time. So here's what happened. This wedding was supposed to be clean, expensive, Instagram perfect, vineyard venue, open bar, drone shots. The groom, Evan, works in fintech. The bride, Laura, is a pediatric nurse. And both of them are aggressively normal people who say things like, we just want good vibes. Red flag already. Whenever someone says good vibes only, it means chaos is warming up backstage. Enter the antagonist, Mark, best man, college roommate, self-appointed main character. Mark is one of those guys who calls himself brutally honest and thinks that's a personality, not a warning label. Loud laugh, talks over people, drinks like he's being timed, constantly reminding everyone that he basically introduced Evan and Laura, which wasn't true, but he said it so often people stopped correcting him. From the rehearsal dinner onward, Mark is already on bullshit. He's telling the bartender loudly that this wedding would be nothing without him. He keeps making jokes about how Evan owes him everything. Laura's mom gives him the tightest smile I've ever seen. You know the one. The smile that says, I am picturing your funeral outfit. Wedding morning. Everything looks smooth on the surface. Laura's getting ready with her bridesmaids. Evan's pacing. Mark shows up late, already buzzed, sunglasses on indoors, carrying a duffel bag he refuses to explain. First red flag of the day. Who brings a mystery bag to a wedding? Batman villains. Ceremony goes fine. Mark behaves. Bare minimum? No screaming. No collapsing into the aisle. Everyone relaxes. Big mistake? Reception starts. Toasts are coming up. Mark is bouncing in his seat, like a kid who knows he's about to light something on fire. The maid of honor gives a sweet speech. Evan's dad gives a speech that runs a little long, but whatever. Then the DJ announces Mark. Mark stands up with his glass, already half empty. He taps the mic way too hard. Feedback squeals. He grins like he's about to drop the hottest mixtape of 2012. He opens with, all right, I was told to keep this short. Narrator translation. He was not going to keep it short. He starts normal. Childhood stories. College stuff. Embarrassing, but tolerable. Evan's laughing. Laura's smiling but stiff. Then Mark pivots. You can feel it. The air changes. He says, you know, Evan almost didn't make it here today. Crowd chuckles. Nervous ones. Mark continues. Not because he didn't love Laura, but because some people aren't meant to settle down. Laura's smile drops a millimeter. Evan glances up. Mark laughs and goes, relax, relax, I'm kidding. Kind of, I'm already mad. Like who told him this was okay? Who gave this man a microphone in a childhood? Then Mark says, Lavra, you're amazing. Truly. But I gotta be honest, when Evan told me he was proposing, I asked him if he was sure. Dead silence. Glasses freeze midair. Mark keeps going. Because man, you were wild. Like, wild, wild. Lavra turns to Evan. He's not smiling anymore. Mark says, and I'm not just talking about college. I mean, like, last year. Oh no. Oh, absolutely not. People start murmuring. Lavra whispers something to Evan. He shakes his head, confused. Mark lifts his duffel bag onto the table next to him. I swear to God, if someone told me this was scripted, I'd say the writer was on cocaine. Mark unzips the bag and pulls out printed photos. Actual physical photos. Not a slideshow. Not a joke. Printed evidence. Serial killer energy. He holds one up and says, I just think honesty is important in a marriage. Lavra stands up. Her chair screeches. She says, what the fuck is that? Mark grins. Just memories. Evan walks toward him, saying, Mark, stop. Right now. Mark ignores him and turns to the room. Some of you might recognize these. He starts passing photos around tables like party favors from hell. People are gasping. Someone says, is that Evan? Someone else says, that's not Lavra, because the photos are of Evan. Drunk. Shirtless. At a hotel bar. With another woman. Time-stamped. Dated. From 8 months ago. Lavra starts shaking. She's crying but also furious. Like vibrating with it. She says, is this real? Evan keeps saying, I don't know what this is. I swear. I don't. Mark cuts him off. Don't lie. That's gross. On your wedding day? I'm watching this like, oh, Mark didn't come to be a best man. He came to execute someone publicly. Laura's mom is screaming now. The DJ is frozen. The photographer is still shooting because of course he is. This man smells content. Evan grabs one of the photos. His face goes white. He looks at Mark and says, quietly, where did you get these? Mark shrugs. Does it matter? Yes, it fucking matters. Laura rips the photo out of Evan's hand and looks at it. She looks at him and says, you cheated on me? Evan says nothing. That silence? Louder than the DJ could ever be. Lavra takes off her ring and drops it onto the table. It makes this tiny clink sound that somehow ends the entire marriage. She says, I'm done. Mark raises his glass and says, I know this is hard, but I think in the long run. That's when Evan snaps. He lunges at Mark, punches him square in the mouth. Mark goes down, knocks into a table, bottles shatter, people scream. Absolute chaos. Security rushes in. Someone's aunt is crying. Someone else is filming vertically. Police get called. Because of course they do. Mark is bleeding, laughing like a psychopath, saying, Worth it. Worth it. And this is where it gets worse. Because when the cops separate them and start asking questions, Evan finally says, ask him how he got those photos. The cops turn to Mark. Mark smirks and says, oh, I hacked his iCloud. Yeah, that part. He just casually admits to a felony into a microphone that is still very much on. You could hear the entire room inhale at the same time. The cops look at each other. One of them says, you did what? Mark tries to backpedal. I mean, not hacked. I just, guessed the password. Sir, that is still hacking. You don't get a discount for confidence. They cuff him. At the head table, in his rented tux. While the photographer keeps shooting because again, content demon. Mark is screaming now. He cheated. I was helping. The cop says, you can help from the back of the squad car. They drag him out. Blood on his shirt. Guests parting like the Red Sea. Lavra leaves through a side door without saying a word to Evan. Reception's over. Wedding's done. Marriage lasted about 45 minutes, and that should have been the end. But it wasn't. Because about a week later, everyone found out why Mark really did it. And that's where this gets genuinely unhinged. Because a week later, the group chat explodes. Not a gentle, hey, has anyone heard from Lavra? Explosion. I'm talking screenshots. Walls of text. Someone typing, holy shit, at 2:13 a.m. Turns out, Mark didn't do this out of honesty or bro code, or whatever delusional superhero monologue he was running in his head. He did it because Lavra rejected him. Yeah, that part. Here's the backstory nobody knew at the wedding. About 3 months before the engagement, Mark slid into Laura's DMs, not subtly, not respectfully. Full send. Late night. Paragraphs. Compliments that start normal and then immediately take a left turn into, I understand you better than Evan ever could, which is insane behavior, considering Evan was literally in the next room most nights. Laura shut it down. Politely at first. Hey, I don't think this is appropriate. Mark responds with the classic, wow, I was just being nice. She blocks him. Instead of backing off like a normal human being, Mark spirals. He starts digging. Old photos, old logins. He already knew Evan's birthday, dog's name, college mascot. You can see where this is going. He guesses the password. Gets in. And when he gets in, he finds proof that Evan cheated. Now here's the critical part. This is where a sane person would send Laura the info privately. Or confront Evan. Or simply walk away and let the universe handle it. Mark chose option 4. Nuclear humiliation at a public event with an audience. Because it wasn't about Laura. It was about control. And this is where my rage really kicks in. Because Mark wasn't trying to protect her. If he was, he wouldn't have waited until she was in a white dress in front of 120 people and a fucking drone. He wanted to hurt Evan and still look like the hero. Anyway, charges stick. Evan presses them. Unauthorized access. Distribution of private images. Assault charges get dropped because honestly, everyone understands why Evan punched him. Even the cop looked like he wanted to high-five him. Mark loses his job. Company doesn't love. Best man arrested for cybercrime as a LinkedIn headline. His girlfriend leaves him. Friends quietly stop responding. He starts posting vague Instagram stories about speaking your truth and being punished for honesty. Sir, you committed crimes in a tux. Lavra moves back in with her sister. Evan tries to apologize. Writes letters. Sends flowers. She sends everything back unopened. 0 words. Ice cold. Honestly, respect. Here's the final kicker. The part that makes this story feel scripted. 6 months later, Lavra runs into Mark at a grocery store. Completely accidental. Same aisle. Pasta sauce. Mark tries to talk to her. He says, I know you hate me, but I did the right thing. Lavra looks at him and says, you didn't do it for me. Mark says, I saved you. And Lavra goes, no, you wanted to own the moment. Then she grabs her groceries and leaves him standing. They're alone next to the marinara, like the villain he is. Evan, last I heard, moved cities. New job. New start. Mark. Still posting. Still the victim in his own story. Still convinced he was the hero of a movie nobody asked him to star in. And that's the thing. This wasn't a wedding that got ruined by cheating. It was a wedding that got hijacked by a man who couldn't stand not being the main character. I post stories daily, so why haven't you subscribed yet?